The movie opens up at a clinic, where Ben, an optometrist, chats with his regular female patient. The two discuss their families, and the desire for their children to not grow up so fast. Meanwhile, Ben's wife, Hannah, enjoys time with her friends at a restaurant, discussing their love lives. When they're leaving, she takes out her camera, and clicks some pictures of her friends. Later that day, while taking more photos in the backyard, Hannah is interrupted by her daughter Sam's friends at the door. They ask if Sam can join them for a group study. Hannah is initially hesitant due to the late hour, but she agrees when the group assures her that they will return home before dinner. She heads towards her daughter's bedroom to inform her, but when she knocks on the door, the teenager reacts angrily and rushes downstairs to join her friends. In the evening, when Ben returns home, he greets Hannah with affection and emphasizes that his day truly begins when he looks into her beautiful eyes. Their romantic encounter is interrupted when their moody daughter Sam suddenly arrives. Ben suggests she help her mother, but Sam pretends to do homework and goes upstairs to her room. After dinner, Sam asks her parents if she can sleep over at her friend's house. Hannah is once again a bit hesitant about it, but Ben convinces her to let their daughter go. He reasons that they can finally spend some alone time together. The next day, Hannah drops Sam off at her friend's house. Before parting ways, she asks the teenager for a kiss. Although Sam hates being treated like a child, she eventually gives her mother a kiss on the cheek. When Hannah comes home, she finds her husband preparing a surprise dinner for her. He leads her to a romantically set up room with candles, and Hannah is delighted to see Ben going out of his way to make her happy. After the meal, the couple reminisces about a cherished memory. During this intimate moment, Hannah asks Ben what he sees when he looks at her, and he sweetly responds by holding up a candelabra, declaring her as the first and last woman he'll ever love. The next day, Ben bids his wife and daughter farewell as they depart for a trip to visit Hannah's mother, who is now ill. However, the rude teenager says she's not a kid anymore to be concerned about. Later, Hannah takes candid photos of Sam at a gas station, but this only infuriates the brat. She belittles her mother's photography hobby, urging her to do something more useful. As the two continue their journey, Hannah questions why Sam is always rude to her, and the teenager explains that she doesn't like being treated like a kid all the time. Hannah, in turn, emphasizes the importance of someone being the disciplinarian in the family, and hopes that Sam can understand that it comes from a place of love. But as Hannah is engrossed in the conversation, she doesn't realize that a truck is coming towards her.
Mom, look out!
Later, Ben arrives at the hospital where he finds his wife and daughter on adjacent beds. He holds his head in shock and slowly approaches them. Suddenly, Hannah's eyes flutter, so the doctor removes her breathing tube and suggests she breathe through her nose. Hannah, in a disoriented state, asks what happened, so Ben explains they got into an accident. She immediately asks how Sam's condition is, apologizes for this, and says she loves them very much. Suddenly, Sam's pulse and her heart line go flat, and during this, Hannah urges her husband to pass her their daughter's hand. In a desperate attempt to revive Sam, Hannah holds her hand and screams her name. The medical team separates their hands to perform defibrillation. Tragically, as soon as their hands part, Hannah also flatlines. A devastated Ben watches as the medical team makes several attempts to revive both his wife and daughter. Unfortunately, after multiple shocks and failed efforts, it appears that they have passed away. But just then, a nurse notices a pulse in Sam, and when the doctor gets to know about this, he orders Sam's transfer to the ICU. Ben can only hug his wife's body right now, and later, in the hospital parking lot, he grieves and sobs over the loss of his beloved wife. In the next scene, Ben visits Sam in her hospital room, during which she regains consciousness. Here the daughter asks where Sam is, and Ben ignores her, and gently reveals the distressing news that her mother died in the accident. Sam cries and questions how it's possible since her mother is supposed to be in Boston. She also asks why Ben keeps calling her Sam, and notices her voice and hand are different, so she requests a mirror. Upon seeing her reflection, she cries, insisting that the person in the mirror is not her. She frantically scrambles out of bed and runs into the hallway, crying out Sam's name. Later, the doctor informs Ben that after examining Sam's condition, they've ruled out a traumatic brain injury. She suggests that Sam's belief of being Hannah might be a case of temporary mental dysfunction, possibly PTSD. Next, the father and daughter return home, where Sam tearfully recounts the details of her first date with Ben. Shocked, Ben questions if her mother told her the story, but Sam insists that she is Hannah. Later that night, she has a nightmare and calls out for her father, so Ben calms her down. The next morning, Sam, who we now believe to be Hannah, wakes up early, takes a bath, and looks at her young body in the mirror. During this time, she is shocked to discover the name Justin tattooed on her backside. At breakfast, Ben is surprised to see his daughter cooking, and he tells her she doesn't do that. He then informs Sam that during her nightmare, she called out for her father, she called out for him. Hearing this, Hannah speculates that Sam might still be inside the body, but of course, Ben still thinks she is confused due to the accident. To prove her identity, Hannah shares intimate details about Ben, like a mole on his thigh, and his preference for back rubs before falling asleep. But despite her best efforts, Ben says her mother could have told her that. Frustrated, Hannah shows him the candelabra from their romantic dinner before the accident, and shares the details of that conversation, leaving Ben angry and puzzled at the same time. The following day, they attend the mother's funeral, and afterward, Hannah joins Sam's friends on the porch. They offer her a substance to smoke, and one of them even says that Sam's wish of her mother's death has been fulfilled. Hearing this, an upset Hannah goes back inside the house and meets with her friends, but she mistakenly acts like they are Sam's friends too, leaving them confused as well. Later in the bedroom, Hannah gets angry while telling Ben that she discovered Sam smokes illegal substances and has a tattoo of someone named Justin on her backside. She also shares that Sam wished her mother would perish, something she would never say as a teenager. In the midst of the conversation, the husband seems to finally believe in her and promises that he'll find a way to bring Sam back. The next day, Ben goes to a library to research spiritual transference, hoping to understand more about the phenomenon of one person's spirit moving into another's body. He reads multiple journals, keeps notes of some findings, and later meets Dr. Bray, who shares a case from an African village. In this case, a woman recovering from a serious illness claimed to be a girl who had died 100 miles away on the same day. Mr. Bray mentions that the woman knew intimate details about the girl's life, despite never having met her. After his research, Ben returns home and tells Hannah that he believes there might be a medical explanation for her experience. He suggests that she continue living their daughter's life until Sam reclaims her body. The following day, Ben drives Hannah to school, where she feels overwhelmed by the kids and the new environment. Sensing her distress, Ben encourages her to be confident before sending her inside. In the hallway, Hannah gets nervous as she knows no one there, and Sam's friends greet Hannah, and she asks them about her locker. Out of nowhere, one of her friends, Ethan, approaches her and kisses her on the lips, and this takes Hannah by surprise. When alone, a man named Justin aggressively pulls her into the stairwell. He references the tattoo on her body, and Hannah insists she's married, but Justin thinks it's a role-playing scenario. He also speaks about the frequent intercourse they used to have every afternoon. Enraged, Hannah tells him to leave her alone. Later on, she sobbingly calls Ben and explains that their daughter might have been intimate with multiple boys. However, Ben quickly calms her down and asks her to stay focused. He then calls Sam's guidance counselor, Tara, asking her to check on his daughter and make sure that she is okay. A short while later, Tara approaches Hannah, offering her support and the chance to talk whenever needed. She calls her brave and understands that it is overwhelming to attend school after losing her mother. Hannah appreciates her concern and thanks her. After this, she walks towards her daughter's locker. To her surprise, she discovers that Sam used her birthday as the locker combination. Upon opening it, she finds her daughter's diary and personal belongings. Later, while Ben is changing his clothes, Hannah suddenly walks in, prompting him to hide behind the door. Hannah reassures him that there's no need to be embarrassed since she's his wife, but Ben reminds her of the complicated situation. She is now in the body of their daughter. Hannah then begins reading her daughter's diary, where she learns that Sam resents the family for moving from Boston to a small town. She also finds out about a party that her friends are about to organize. The following weeks, the English teacher talks to Hannah, reminding her of her sudden drop in grades, and to maintain good grades for admission to an Ivy League college. She encourages her to work hard, and compliments her outstanding SAT scores before, and Hannah isn't even aware of this. The teacher also notes a change in her handwriting. That night at a restaurant, Hannah holds Ben's hand and starts flirting with him. This obviously makes him feel awkward, so he asks her to stop. As the two engage in conversation, she reveals that her friend is organizing a party on the weekend, and she has decided to attend it. Hannah believes that her daughter would do the same, so she must go. That night when Hannah is asleep, Ben tries to call her Sam, and to his surprise, he gets this response. Several days later, Tara visits Ben's clinic. She asks for a glass checkup, so Ben promptly seats her for an assessment. Unbeknownst to Ben, Hannah arrives at the clinic and sees him and Tara in close proximity. Feeling jealous, she storms out of there. Afterwards, at the supermarket, she angrily confronts him, accusing him of betraying her trust with Tara. However, he swiftly defends himself, asserting that nothing inappropriate happened between them, and that he only loves his wife. In the evening, Hannah wears a nightgown and attempts to seduce Ben. She mentions that she has a body that every guy dreams of, but Ben still does not entertain her advances, as his wife's body is underground right now. At school, Hannah continues to read Sam's diary, where she learns that most people dislike Sam because she's smart, and this why she befriends the wrong people. The scene then shifts to the party, where Ben drops Hannah off. He says that he will come to pick her up later, but she refuses, asserting that she will get a ride home instead. Inside the party, Hannah meets Sam's friends, who encourage her to drink. A while later, an intoxicated Ethan tries to kiss her, but Justin intervenes and takes her upstairs to talk. He apologizes for their past issues and expresses a desire to return to how things were, but Hannah rejects him, stating that their relationship is over. Later, a drunk Hannah returns home from the party, and Ben asks how her night went. Since she is not in a good mood, she angrily says that she enjoyed it with her friends. Ben keeps asking her several questions, as she points out that he never used to interrogate their daughter this much. After their heated conversation, Hannah storms upstairs and logs an entry in her daughter's diary. The next day, Ben visits Hannah's grave, expressing uncertainty about what to do, and mentioning that he feels like he is losing her again. At school, the art teacher welcomes Hannah to the yearbook club, suggesting she take candid photos of her friends. Back home, Hannah considers attending an Ivy League college, seeing it as a second chance since she sacrificed her college plans for the family. She reassures Ben that she doesn't regret her choices, but just wants to utilize the second chance. In the following days, Hannah rediscovers her passion for photography, as she takes several pictures of her teenage friends. One day, Ben approaches Ethan at school to inquire about his daughter's involvement in illegal substances, and the latter admits that she did it in the past, but hasn't since the accident. Ethan also reassures Ben that he loves his daughter, but Dad reacts strongly, stating that teens like him don't know what love is, all they know is partying. At home, Ben confronts Hannah, accusing her of not caring about getting their daughter back. He also doesn't like how she is enjoying Sam's life too much, and says it's been 3 months, and Sam still doesn't return. In response, Hannah questions her husband's desperation by telling him where her soul will end up once Sam reclaims her body. She then locks herself in a room, and despite Ben's apologies, she escapes through the window. Next, we see Hannah hanging out with Sam's friends, while Ben searches the town for her. A friend of Hannah informs him that some of Sam's friends always hang out on Bulkley Street. Meanwhile, the teens indulge in an illegal substance and encourage Hannah to try it. Ben arrives at Sam's friend's house afterwards, and decides to enter the house when no one is responding at that moment. He can hear the kids having fun, and decides not to interrupt them. Unfortunately, Hannah actually takes the drugs, and starts hallucinating. She suddenly sees her own gruesome reflection after the accident. Outside, Ben hears her screams, and rushes in to find her having a bad trip. He angrily scolds her friends for using drugs before carrying her home. The next day, Sam finally wakes up in her own body and gets confused to see her dad in her bedroom. Ben then asks if she is her daughter while hugging her. But here he learns that Sam has no recollection of the accident, so he informs her about it. Overwhelmed, Sam searches for her mother all over the house and eventually passes out in the yard. A few hours later, when she wakes up, Hannah is back in control of her body. Ben tells her about their daughter's return the previous night, and surprisingly, Hannah appears to be aware of it. Later on, Ben reads an entry from Sam's diary, expressing her struggle to admit how grateful she is for having such a caring mother. Hannah comments that since Sam's return, their daughter's presence in the body has become more pronounced, signaling her imminent full return, but she can't explain it. Back home, while washing her husband's clothes, Hannah feels sad. She knows she doesn't have much time left. Meanwhile, Ben grapples with the difficulty of saying goodbye to his wife. That night, the couple cuddles in bed, exchanging their final expressions of love. Ben shares that his day only truly begins when he gazes into Hannah's eyes. The following day, Ben greets Sam, and here Sam finally remembers the accident. Ben then gives her the videotape recorded by Hannah, and the teenager somberly plays the video. She sees herself as Hannah, who shares her understanding of Sam's struggles after going through her life. Hannah believes that Sam is brilliant and beautiful, and encourages her to pursue happiness. Lastly, Sam can't hold back her tears when the mom tells her to take care of her father, and says she loves her more than anything. After this, the father and daughter visit Hannah's grave to bid her a final farewell. In the final scene, Sam is at school when her friend notices a change in her handwriting, and Sam explains that she has adopted her mother's script. When asked if she misses Hannah, Sam acknowledges the longing, but asserts that her mother will always be with her. Thus, we reach the end of this film. Thanks for watching. You can like this video to support us. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. See you in the next video. Goodbye.